Okay, all right. Good morning, guys. One more time, we're live. Welcome. This morning we're going to we'll continue with our session on change management. The last time I think we ended with quality assurance. So today we will begin our journey with change management, and then I'm going to dedicate some time for questions and answers around the second project, right? So I know we have a second project that is currently ongoing, and I know a lot of you or some of you, you guys have questions. So I'll make sure that I have some time to take care of all those questions and answers on the requirement. All right. So change management in every environment that we work, right? Everywhere, there is always the opportunity for us to look back to what we have done. And then sometimes, we need to regroup, we need to recalibrate, we need to sit down, we need to change strategy, we need to even change the entire requirement, right? As a matter of fact, if you guys recall, one of the manifestos of Agile is that open posture to change, right? We're very flexible to change. I hope you guys have not forgotten it. One of the key manifestos of Agile, right? Very flexible to change. We want to be able to adapt and be receptive to change as much as possible. But in doing so, we do not also don't want to jeopardize and then compromise our project, right? We do not want the kind of change that we entertain to have negative or adverse effects on our project, right? So it is very, very important that as much as we want to entertain change, we also want to be sure to document the change process. Who is authorizing this? Who is giving, who is signing off on this? And so we want to be creative. We want to be able to adapt. We want to be able to be receptive. We want to be able to entertain change, because change is always good, right? Change is always a good thing. But in doing so, we don't want to compromise on the quality of our change. We don't want to compromise, the quality of our code, the quality of our project. We don't want to impact negatively on our project. So how do we manage this then, right? How do we manage this then? Typically, in a waterfall project, there is a long or a tall order when it comes to change, right? It will have to go through several sessions and several series, talk to several people, and then whatnot, right? But with Agile, it's a different process altogether. But let's go in and let's get going and learn one or two things here when it comes to change. So change control process in software engineering. What is it, right? There's a lot of change management, type of philosophy and framework in different organizations and different domains, but we want to be able to limit our conversation or our convo to just software engineering, right? So software engineering change. So what is change control? So change control is a process that a company uses to document. That is number one. I want you guys to take note of these keywords. The company uses to, number one, document. Number two, identify, right? Identify. Number three, and authorize changes to an IT environment. It reduces the chances of what? Unauthorized alterations, disruptions, and errors in the system, right? This is very key, guys. We don't want people to be making changes, as and when they feel and they want to do this. Let's say, last night he went to bed, he dream of something, he come back to work in the morning, he say, yes, I'm changing this one. No. We don't want people to be altering the vision, the roadmap of our project just like that by just, going to eat his or her favorite food, coming back and say, no, 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 I want to change this. I think I'm feeling for this one. No. So because we don't want this to happen, we need to first document. We need to write it down. We need to write down what kind of change are we authorizing here. Not only that, but we also need to identify, right? It's very key. We need to identify, and then we need to authorize who is signing off on this. We want to be able to associate some big person's name with this change and say that, yes, he or she is the one that signed off on this. And so if anything happens, if, stuff, break up, whilst we move ahead, then we will come back and say, yes, he's the person that authorized it, right? So it's very important. So this will, when we do this properly, when this is done, it will reduce the chances of what unauthorized alteration. Not everybody should be allowed to make changes, right? And then disruptions and errors in the system. So that's going to be the key benefit to what we want to do. So the steps in change management process, right? That we have some key steps that we're going to be looking at. So we have change requests that will come in first, and then we need to do impact analysis, right? Impact analysis is very critical. We do impact analysis not even in software engineering, but even in construction and other things. If you want to build a mall, no problem, but we need to be able to have certain things like traffic impact analysis done. If you put this mall in this area, how will traffic be impacted, right? So you need to have traffic impact analysis. We have different type of impact analysis that we always conduct, right? Unfortunately, in some part of the world, when somebody wants to do something, they just go ahead, they do it without any impact analysis. Impact analysis is almost like the side effect. What is going to happen when this happens, right? So if a proper impact analysis is done, for instance, if you want to build a mall somewhere in a very congested area, that the mall itself will be, it's going to draw a lot of traffic, right? So we need to have traffic impact analysis done to ensure that, how many cars on a typical day, uses this route at this time of the day, during peak times, in the mornings, like 6 a.m., 7 a.m., to 7:30 to 8 a.m. And then in the evenings, 5 p.m., from 4:30 to 7 p.m. See, when this is done, then we'll be able to ensure that there are a lot of road, diversions. We need to be able to have different routes built so that, we'll be able to curtail, we'll be able to plan ahead for this mall that we want to situate here. But sometimes we don't necessarily do that. So there are steps in this process. Even where we want to build software, we want to be able to analyze. We want to be able to sit back and say, this change that we are about to authorize, how will this impact on the already existing systems? How will this impact on other features that customers might already be using it? Because there are some changes that have some deep root, they are deeply rooted in some other modules or other components. And so by removing something, by developing something to replace something, by changing something, you will definitely be rocking some boat, right? So it's very important that we sit back and then we have this impact analysis done. And of course, we're going to have the approval, the rejection, the change implementation, the review and the reporting, piece of it, right? Very, very important. So why change control or why change management? So whenever a new or different changes are requested for a system, especially by stakeholders, it is neither optional nor ignorable. This is very key, guys. Keep it in mind. So when the stakeholder says, I want to do this, it is something that is not optional and you cannot also ignore. Much as we want to be able to please our stakeholder, make them happy that we're building this for them, we also want to make sure that we are treading cautiously, right? We're doing the right thing whilst this change process is being done, right? So much as we want to do this, we also want to be very, very, very cautious. So it is neither optional. It's not like, okay, he says or he or she says we should have this change done. Well, if we feel like it's okay, we will do it. No, no, no. It's not that kind of, that kind of conversation. And it is also not something that you can ignore. We need to be able to accommodate these changes as much as possible, but we do so with a lot of caution, right? It has to be implemented without affecting other components of the system. So this is when, change control management and other things come in handy, right? Because we want to do it, but in doing so, we want the impact or negative impact to be minimal. It helps project teams to modify the scope of the project using specified controls and policies. Change control is practiced whenever a project is not processing as planned. So sometimes what we want to be doing, what we have already planned ahead, that this is what we want to do. This is going to be the destination or the final destination. This is where we want to get to. Sometimes, we sit back, we're still on the journey, we're still working. But sometimes as we are working, we'll be looking at it and then we think that, as for this process that, we are on, it demands a change management. It demands something, we should be able to change something, right? So, we've sat down, we've sit back, and then we've realized that no, that something is needed here. We need to change something in this process. No, it is okay. Change is good, but we need to be able to document that change as we move along. So that's why the change management process is critical and it's very, very important. So it is mandatory that a formal document for change request is completed and reviewed in order to keep the control of change request, right? So if Mr. A says today we want to change this requirement, and then we change it, the next day Mr. B says, no, I also feel for this one, we change it. And then Mr. C will also say, I also want to change this requirement. No, we don't want that to happen. So that is why there has to be a formal way of documenting, identifying, and recording all these changes and authorizing who is also signing off on this change or this requirement change, right? As much as possible. So we need to do that. Number two, number of questions one might encounter while analyzing change control, right? So we need to be able to sit back and also, answer all the questions, the queries, all the things that, we might likely encounter, right? As we want to have this change, right? Like I said, even in Agile, they were even careful to even have one of their manifestos as being flexible or adaptable to change, right? Being very, very flexible to change. But both waterfall and even Agile framework or methodology, we want to be able to, entertain change, but we will have to answer all questions. What are all the sides that we might encounter? We need to do that. We need to also answer the question of who will approve the change? Who's going to approve this, right? So that's a key question that also must be answered. Who will approve this change? Does it require to run through a change control board? So sometimes, some organization, we have what we call the steering committee, right? So the steering committee, some of this change will have to go through them at the beginning of every project. Sometimes, even outside of the main project steering committee board, we will have a change steering, something of, sort of like a sub, committee for this as well. So we will have a different committee of members, composition of members. They will have to authorize any kind of change in the course of the project, right? Very, very important, guys. Very important. So who will approve it? We need to answer this question. Does it require to run through the change control board? We need to answer this question. How much time will be required to research and implement this change, right? This is critical. We need to be able to answer the question of how long is this changes will take us? How long is it going to take? We cannot just simply somebody's emotions and feelings say we want to have this requirement change to this B or C, and then we go ahead and do it. We need to be able to answer the question of duration. How much time is this gonna, when we authorize this change, how how will it impact on our project? Will it prolong our project to 2 months, 3 months, right? Or will it, delay, our project to this? We need to be able to answer this question as well, right? What are the impacts of change to other component of the system, right? So we need to be able to know when this change is authorized, how will this new set of requirements impact on other component of the system? We also need to answer question of schedule, right? How will this put all of us back in our schedule? The cost involved. Remember, time is money. The resources, development team, quality assurance team, we're paying everybody. So we need to be able to adjust our budget, our initial project budget for this as well, right? And we also need to even ask the question of, do we even have that bandwidth? Do we have a lot of money, to take care of this change when this is authorized, right? Resources. Are we going to need new set of team members? The change that we are authorizing. We need to be able to sit down and say, okay, the resources that we have, the team members that we have, is it going to be? Are we going to be okay with the same team members, or we need to hire some contractors? We need to hire, we need to outsource that change to a different team to take care of it. All of these questions we need to address, right? Very, very important. Very important that we answer all these questions. And is there any threshold under which the project management can approve it? So questions around budget, current questions around money, bandwidth, all these things. Are we up to the cap? Are we up to the threshold? Can we entertain more of this change at this time? We need to answer a lot of questions, right? So it's very important. We don't just get up one day and say, "Oh, we feel for this. Let's go ahead and get this change done." No, we need to be able to answer these questions. So these are a couple of factors over here that the change control board, the change management team should consider, right? So there are steps in the change control process, and then the corresponding action taken in that change control, right? The corresponding action. So change request initiation and control. So the corresponding action is what you guys see by the side, which is going to be request for change should be standardized and subject to management review, right? And then change requester should be kept informed. So whoever requested the change should be kept informed of the standards that we adhere to, and then must also be subject to management review, right? Number two over here is impact analysis. We talk about this impact analysis. Like I said, in the construction scenario, way back ago, many years back, when the Accra Mall, if you're from Ghana and you're watching this, when Accra Mall was newly built, right? It was newly built. We all realized the traffic impact. Even now, even today, because I was in Ghana just last year, and even now, when you're coming from La Paz, we're coming from the other side, the George, whatever, the W. Bush highway, and you're coming to Tetekwashi, it's still crazy at night, like 6 p.m., 7 p.m. You don't want to be in that traffic, right? But unfortunately, I have to use that traffic, to go home. But if a proper impact analysis or impact assessment was done, we should have known that, maybe 5,000 cars or 15,000, 20,000 cars use this route from 4:30 p.m. to 7 p.m. during that peak time, right? When people are going home from work. We should have known, right? So impact analysis, make sure that all requests for change are assessed in a structured way for analyzing possible impact. We should look at all sides. When this is done, how will this impact in our system or on our system, right? Change, control and documentation of the changes. So much as we want to entertain change, like I said, we need to log. A change log should be maintained that tells the date, person details, who made the changes, and the changes implemented. We need to keep track of all the changes that is happening along the project, right? Only authorized individuals should be able to make changes. So again, we want to be able to entertain changes as much as possible, but we need key people to sign off on this change. It's not like every team member of the organization, even a front desk person will come and say, I need this change, and then it's done, right? That would be so bad. If somebody from the front desk can even come in and say, I want this change done. Not that that person is not important, but we need to be able to have key people authorize some of these kind of type of key changes, right? Everyone is important. The process of rolling back to the previous version should be identified. When we start looking at, some DB stuff, some database stuff, and some SQL stuff, we'll look at, rollback and other type of things like that, right? We look at rollback. So there should be a process in the system. If the change that we are authorizing does not go well, if it falls through, right? If it doesn't go well, we got to be able to have a mechanism in place so that we can roll back to the previous version that worked well, right? If the change that we want is great, we started it, it's going good, we implemented, and then we realized that, when we went to production, it has even caused more harm than good, right? We got to be able to roll back. We got to be able to roll back to the previous version that worked well for us and say, okay, we need to abort this mission, and then get back to the previous version that was great for us before we started all this change, right? So there has to be a mechanism in place. Documentation and procedures. Whenever system changes are implemented, the procedures and associated document should update accordingly, right? We need to have that. Authorized maintenance. System access rights should be controlled to avoid unauthorized access. Very important. Testing and user sign-off. So much as we want to have that great, feature change to the greatest, whenever it's done, we need to test it as well, right? It has to be tested, and we need to sign off on it. That is, everything has been tested and it's looking good, right? There has to be version control as well, right? We need to keep track of version. This is version 2.0. That's why when you buy different software, you buy different things, and you guys have seen it. There are different models or different upgrades. They all come with different model names, right? So it's very important. It's like a car, it's like a vehicle, it's like, automobile. When you buy a car, they have, the model year. So 2019, 2018, we need to keep track of the versions and what we are adding, right? Very, very important. Same thing with, software. So you see version 2.1, 2.2. So anytime you're uploading something or you're updating something, upgrading, you see that the version, this is going to be version 2. Something come with some serial number, right? And so that's the version control. And then we have the emergency changes. A verbal authorization should be obtained, and the changes should be documented as soon as possible. So sometimes we might have to get some change done, and we might not have the key individuals who may have to sign off on this change, right, on the call. But we still need to get the change done. We can go ahead and get it done, but we still have to get the sign off and documentation still in place. For the fact that we have gotten the change done does not mean that we should forget about the documentation. We should forget about, the process, right? We cannot ignore it. So we need to still go back, have the documentation, have something written down, and keep moving, okay? All right, let's move on. So this is a simple change management process flow diagram, okay? Change management process flow diagram. So very simple. Number one is change request identification. Number two, it flows into change requests. And then just you guys can see, like we did for the, bag report and the other type of, process flow diagrams. You see over there, when it comes to change request assessment, well, when we look at the impact after the assessment, we look at the impact that this is going to have. We can either reject it or we can defer the change request. As you guys can see, the arrow pointing to the right side. So when the assessment is done, we can say, oh, no, we cannot entertain this change. This is going to have a lot of impact. It's going to have negative or adverse impact, right? So we need to, defer this. Let's take care of this maybe in the future, or let's even reject it outright, right? And then number 3, change request analysis. Of course, we need to be able to analyze this new change, the schedule, resources, all the things that we need, and like I said in the previous slide. So it's very important. And then of course we need to have some approval on this, right? So change request approval. You guys have to keep this in mind. This is very important. And then we will have the change request finally implementation, right? Once we move past the change request approval, we cannot reject or we cannot defer it because now it has been approved. So we get to work. We start working on it, right? So that is going to be it. And there are a couple of things over here. I will leave this screen here just so that our recording, our video can capture this. But I will want you guys to go back to this after today's session and watch your about time. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and so that's going to be it for the decision table. We take that at a different session. So this is going to be it for change control process. I'm going to take questions on the change management control first, and then I will transition to the second project that you guys are working on, right? So keep in mind, I'm taking questions on change management process first, and then I will start taking questions on the second project that we're working on. I know you guys are doing great with the user stories that you guys are working on, and you guys have questions on the second project. So for now, you can unmute yourself, and then you ask questions on the change management process, right? And then we will transition to the second project, which is our banking, project. Okay, so I'm ready to take the questions. Questions.
Hello, good morning.
Yes, morning.
Yes, please. My question is this. You realize that sometimes in a company is usually the low-level employees or the ground floor employees. For instance, if it's a factory that manufactures laptops, okay, those that are on the factory line, the production line, will be able to tell if there is an issue that needs to be addressed. Sometimes if you have a very impulsive or should I say stubborn supervisor who would not be willing to take your petition all the way to the top management level, in that instance where you are just an ordinary employee, how do you initiate such a change to be conducted for you?
Yeah, so I believe that in every organization there are change, controls and change, mechanisms put in place. Sometimes there are even boxes that are placed over there that if you have any concern, complaint, queries, whatever, put it in there. So much as we respect the organizational hierarchy, right? We respect the operational level, the strategic level, and the top management level and whatnot. We respect all those organizational hierarchy, but we want to be able to listen to everyone as much as possible. So there are always change controls in there. But even specifically with even our setting, the IT environment settings, usually we run very flat. When I say we run very flat, it's almost like we run without offices and windows, right? So doors. That's what I want to say. So we run without doors. So you don't have to book appointment before you go and see your manager or do something. We usually run very flat. It's very flat in our type of setting, and so people are able to voice out. People are able to chime in, and of course, if you guys remember the daily stand-up meeting, right, is a time for people to say something. Sometimes it might not be a status or something, but it might be a parking lot item that they can chime in and say, hey, I realize this issue or something. So there are always meetings or touch points that people can voice out a couple of things out there that they've seen that does not go well, that might need a change, or that even some other stakeholders might even bring in some new requirements and say that, okay, I said this, but I'm changing it. I want this to be done. And of course, that's our stakeholder. We're not building the application for ourselves. Remember, the most important thing when we are a team is that we are building it for our internal stakeholders. We're building it for our customers. And so what they want is what we do. We are not building it for ourselves, so we cannot have our own preferences and say this is what we want to build. No, we build it and we tied it and align it to the overall organizational goals, right? So we cannot just listen to just one individual. We always need to tie those changes and those values back to the organizational goals as well. Yes, any additional question? Who else? Before we transition into second project questions.
So, Nana, good morning.
Morning. Yeah.
I really like to know. So, with this change, right, who actually documents it? I believe that the stakeholder is going to communicate to the BA or the PO, right? So, who put it all together once it's decided to go ahead?
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I forgot to put in this slide like a sample, change, management form, right? So, there's a form that needs to be filled. That will have different set of fields, the reason for the change, why we need this change. So it has to be filled, thoroughly, right? So there's always a form that has to be filled for this purpose. And so anytime we want something change, we have to have that form filled and go through the right processes, and people have to sign off, approve of it, and other things like that, right? But when the change is finally done, and it's going to be a set of new requirements. Of course, it's going to be the role of the business analyst and the PO to bring this new additional epic or additional feature set in, right? So the change is going to be authorized, but essentially we need to build that new change because it's not just a talk, right? It's not just a lips type of service. It's a feature that needs to be developed, and so we need to document it. Apart from the organizational management piece or the administrative piece, if you want to put it that way, apart from the administrative piece or part of it, the work must be done itself. And so, yes, the PO or the BA must take care of that. All right, next question.
Good morning.
Morning.
So it looks like from what you're saying, anybody in the team can initiate the change by going through the steps, right?
Yes, anybody can, initiate a change, but remember, it has to be authorized, right?
Okay. So if the change is initiated, is it the BA who authorizes it, or would the BA have to coordinate with the stakeholder?
So whatever change that comes in, it has to go to a board. There's always a board. There's always like a steering committee, a mini steering committee that will have to approve of this change after, all the impact analysis and assessment and all those type of things. After looking at our budget, right? First of all, we need to look at our purse and our wallet. Do we have the money? Do we have the resources? Do we have the time? Can the project be delayed? Would it be okay if we prolong the deadline, for this project? All of those, touch points and, data sets will have to be evaluated first, right? If initially the project was supposed to, deliver in March, and then by this change, we'll have to go all the way to July. Is this something that, we can allow? The cost involved? Remember, it's going to cost us. It's going to cost us as a team, but is it going to cost us as an organization? Because we needed to ship this out so that customers can start using it, so that we can start making profit, right? So there are two costs that we'll have to endure. So are we ready to, endure all these two, different type of costs? So it has to be authorized. Yes.
Okay.
2 more minutes and I'll transition to the project questions. Yes, I want to be able to answer questions on this change first and then move on. Kofi, are you on? Jeffrey, you guys on? You guys don't have any question, I assume, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Good. All right. All right. Great. So now let's move on to the our EL EF project, embedded finance project. Yes.
Okay, just want to start, Lena.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Okay, I don't know, but I kind of a lot of stuck here, and since it's we're building, the requirement stage is very important here. So let's say when you take the lender's portal, for instance, right? Um, so you are able to successfully log into username first, then you log into the system. And when you open the lender's portal successfully, as a stakeholder, what do you want to see in the very first page?
Okay, so that's a good question. Yes, what's the next question? So that I can take 2 or 3 questions.
Okay, so once the borrower comes to the provider, okay, and needs a financial assistance, okay, what, as a stakeholder, what should be the steps that you want the borrower to, the patient to go through? So is it that the provider is going to initiate? Is it that the provider is going to initiate the lending, like the lender to the borrower, and also inform the lender, like what is going to be the steps there? What is going to happen there? Is the borrower going to reach out to the lender themselves, or there's going to be a system where when the provider initiates to the patient and the patients agree, there will be an automated message that will be sent to the lender to let them know that, oh, okay, we have this patient coming on board, or what is the process there? And my next question is, after that introduction has been done, with the process of really accepting a patient or giving money to the patient, there are some assessments that needs to be done. And you mentioned that, assessing their credit score is one of them. What is the limit for the credit score, and which credit score company are we working with? Law agency are we working with here?
Okay. All right. Good. All right. All right. All right. Good question. Yeah. Who else? Who else?
I just want to elaborate more on the credit score company, right? So you made mention of FICO or something like that as a third vendor to do the credit score. Is it going to be on the application page of the patient when they are applying, or the borrower? I just want to know that.
Okay. All right. So let's start with the anybody else before I start answering. Somebody put in something in the chat. How is interest calculated? Okay. The question of interest percentage. That's a good question too. As a matter of fact, I can even take that question first. So the interest percentage is going to be 16%, right? It's going to be 16% of whatever that you have we have given to you, right? It's going to be 16% APR. And if you enroll in autopay, right? If you're enrolled in autopay, we're gonna discount it by 1%, so it's going to be 15%, right? Okay. Now the question of the lender portal or the borrower portal. Did you say lender portal or the borrower portal? I think I wrote here lender.
Actually, it's all of them. Like I just like all of the portals. Like when.
Oh, okay. Okay. So you said lender and then the borrower. Okay, all right. So let's take the two. Okay. So okay, let me start with the borrower portal. Okay. So when the borrower logs in, let's say the borrower have gone through all the application cycle and the process, it has been approved a loan, and now he or she can come back to the platform and assess whatever that has been done. It's like his or mini corner, right? That he can always log in and come on. So anytime he or she logs in, he's going to see a couple of things. There's going to be three key things that is going to be in his or her view all the time. So we're going to have a summary, we're going to have payment, we're going to have document. And that summary, the individual is going to see his loan, details about the loan, the money that we've given to him. So the details of that loan, we'll see stuff like, the current amount outstanding, maybe, and then the amount that has also been paid. We're going to see the loan ID. Of course, the loan is going to have an ID, something that is going to be associated with it, right? We're going to see the loan ID. We're going to see the term of the loan, right? So if it's 60 months, 36 months, 24 months, whatever the term is going to be out on there as well. We're going to see the payoff amount. If the person wants to pay it off today. If he wants to clear off all the loan, there's going to be an option. It's going to be able to see the total that is due that he or she can pay, and then that's it. It will settle everything. He's gone. He's debt free, right? And then you'll also get to see the next payment date, right? The next payment date, when the next payment is due, he or she can see that as well. So this is what he's going to see. And then there's going to be an option that he can see his payment history. So you can always go back to his payment history and see all the things, the payment that he has done. Oh, last month in January, I paid this amount, this date. In December 2020, so all previous or historic data on payments is going to be on there as well, right? And then he can also see the future payment schedules as well, also on there. So there should be an ability for him, or she should be able to see, when my payment is due in July, in June, in May, all future payment schedules. Again, able to see. Now under payment, so I said summary, payment, and document. So under payment, a couple of things that I've mentioned is still going to be seen over here as well. But you will see the status of the loan. So the loan is still current. You see it. If the loan is done, like you finish paying it, you see the status change as well to as done, right, or completed. So it's done. You're going to see the facility. So if you borrow the money from ABC Hospitals, CAD Hospital, North Point Hospital, Fulton County Hospital, Emory Hospital, whatever hospital that you want to use, Kolebu or whatever, 37 Military Hospital, whatever, you're going to see the hospital, the facility that you're going to have your procedure done or your surgery done as well, right? You're going to see your monthly payment also on there. You're going to see amount to bring account current also on there. And then accumulated fees, you will see that on there. And then payoff amount or payoff amount, for the day. If you want to clear off or you want to settle everything today, you'll see that also on there. And then payment due for the next month is also going to be seen on there as well. Of course, there's going to be an option for you to be able to change your preferred method of payment, right? So if you want to change your preferred method of payment and the payment session, you can do that as well. And then document, you get to see the agreement that you sign, right? The agreement that you sign, you see that agreement as well. So there's going to be on there. So that's the only thing that can be seen on the document. And you can also download it as well. So when I say download it, I am amplifying my voice here. It's giving you guys a hint. So that means this feature, has to be developed where people kind of have the ability to download the document of the agreement themselves. They can see it, but they can also download it and have copy to themselves. So that's a hint. right? That's a hint for you guys. So that is for the borrower portal. On the lender portal, I think I mentioned a couple of things the other day. That the lender get to see the portfolio. So here's the thing, guys. Every facility that the lender is working with, every hospital provider they're working with, there's always like a set budget. And I think the last time I said, was it $500,000?
Yes.
Yes. So I believe that, yeah, sets apartment. So there's always like a budgeted annual budget for every hospital or every location or every provider. So they give them a spending limit. So that is your purchase limit or your spending limit. So this is what you need to spend. So we get to see a couple of things. So the monies that has been dispersed. So how much money have you given out to patients? What is the outstanding? What do you have currently? We're going to be able to see all the customers that you've also given money to as well by the provider. When we drill down to every provider, we will see all customers, those that have been done, those that have upcoming schedules, procedure schedules done, also schedule. We need to see all those things as well. We need to see profitability, payment for each patient that they've already accepted and money has already been distributed or dispersed to them. We got to be able to see that as well. So we will see most of the things that I mentioned the last time. That's what we'll see. I want to be able to answer Bernie's question. So Bernice asked around patients, what do they go through as initiating the process? So the application starts with the provider. You go to a hospital and then they tell you, okay, it's going to cost you this much, to be able to have this procedure done. So what are you going to do? Okay, your insurance does not cover that. So, well, we have alternative, financing for you. Okay, great. So, tell me about it. Well, we have a company and they can give you the money that you're looking for. Black, credit card can give you the money, and then you can get the money, the financing that you want for this procedure, and then you can pay them back later, right? That's good news. So right there, whilst you're sitting with a provider, they will pick up their tablet, they will initiate the application for you, but they will not complete the application right there in your presence, right? So they will start the application by entering your first name, last name, email, phone number, basic data information. I mentioned all of this the last time. So once they initiate the process, two things: you receive an SMS message and then an email message. Now, inside this SMS message or the content for this email and then the SMS will have links. When I say links, that means a browser URL that when you click on it, when you tap on it, depending on whatever device that you're using, if you use a computer, you have to click. If you're using a phone, you have to tap on it with your finger. Wow. So once you tap on it, it is going to open and redirect you to another page. Now, this is going to be what we call the secure page, where we will verify your identity. Now, we want to be able to make sure that it is who you are claiming to be, right? If it is who you are claiming to be, then when the borrower or when the provider initiated the application for you, you gave him your phone number and you also gave him your email. So when you click on the link and you're redirected to this secure page or trusted page, we will ask you to do a couple of things. The first thing we'll do is that we will ask you to hit on a button that will say send code. And of course, when it says send code, it's going to send the code to your phone number. But we're going to sort of, hide your phone number a little bit because we want to be sure that that is the phone number that the provider initiated the application with. So when you hit on the send the code, we will send a 6-digit OTP. I mentioned this the last time. OTP stands for one-time password. So we send the OTP to you, and then we say, enter this 6-digit OTP password or passcode into that field. So if you are truly the individual, then you should receive this, right? So either by email or by SMS, you should get this code. And then what do you have to do? You enter the code that you have received in there. That is the only way that you can continue with what? The application, right? And then from that point, we have verified your identity. We know that you are who you're claiming that you are, and now you can continue the application, and then you'll fill most of the fields that I talked about the last time. If you want to know the fields that we talked about the last time, you have to go and watch the other video. And then you said that when the borrower reach out to the lender, we talk about all this, and you talk about assessment. Okay, we talk about assessment and credit score. All right. So for us to be able to make a determination, for us to be able to get to a point where we say, for us to be able to make that determination of the loan eligibility for you, we need to be able to, assess your credit worthiness, right? Are you a good person that we can trust? We can give you X or Y dollar amount of money, right? Would you be able to pay back? What is your income to debt ratio? All of this assessment is done by assessing your credit score. So once you assess your um, credit score will give us your FICO score, right? FICO, FICO. It will give you a FICO score. So, in America, we use what we call the FICO score or the credit score. Usually, when you have something above 850, 800 and something plus, we know that you're a good person that we can lend you money, a lot of money, right? The lowest maybe around maybe 400s or 500s. That's very low, and we consider all those type of score as risk, as very risky, very high risk individuals. So if you are something within 600, it's good, but it's not good enough. 700 is good, but anything above 780, going to 800 and even plus 800 credit score, that means that individual's credit ratings is very good, right? So based on this is where we will make a determination of what amount, or should we even approve you or even deny you. And I'm going to tell you guys straight here, so keep it in mind in the requirement. In this process, we will either have approve or deny. We will not have in between, right? Anybody that falls below 600, we will deny the person of the loan. Okay, since I'm the stakeholder. If your credit score is below, say 600, we'll deny you. If it's above it, we will qualify you. But for us, we don't even care about the number above 600. Once we've qualified you, and you all have the same interest rate, right? 16%, unless you enroll in AutoPay. If you enroll in AutoPay, then it's going to be 15. It's going to be discounted by 1%, right? So that is it for the credit score. I'll talk about the interest percentage. So that is it, guys. I think somebody has a question here in the chat. Please is it this way the patient signed the document? Okay, you're talking about the document side. So the document would have already been signed even before getting to this point, right? So the document is always signed in the process of the application. So once instantaneously a decision is made that hey, you qualify for the loan, because all those documentation is going to be generated automatically, and then you need to sign. But you can always go back to the document section where you can see a copy of the agreement that you sign. Hope I've answered your question. So can I unmute you? Yeah, you should be able to unmute. You should be.
Okay, so with the approval of the loan, what is the time period? Is the patient or the borrower going to be able to know whether they approved or not immediately? They get the link and log onto the lender's portal, or is it going to take maybe a day or two? What is the process? Would they have to go
Decision
through
is
the
made, like I said it momentarily, not too long ago. Decision is made instantaneously.
Okay.
So once you go into the process, instantly, boom, you have been denied. You are not a good person. I'm kidding. We'll just tell you that, hey, we cannot, at this time, we cannot offer you, financing right now. Maybe in the future, we can do that. But decisions are instant, right? Instant
Mhm.
decisions. There's not going to be NFR. NFR means need further review. We want to check this. No, 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 no. It's either approve or deny. That's it. We're done with you.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
So you talked about what you wanted to see on the borrower lender and then the provider's portal. What about the servicer?
The sensor to the same thing. The last time I talked about this, I think you have to go back to the video. You will see a couple of things that I mentioned about the servicer, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything, guys? It's
No,
already
anything.
7.
One more thing. Sorry, one more
Okay.
thing about the FICO score, right? Do you have to put some sort of information in to run the test that score itself, or how does it work? Because I know I've seen other
Yes.
websites.
Yes. So to be able to run anybody's credit score, the last time I mentioned this as well, you have to enter your 9-digit social security number.
Okay.
So if you go back to the previous videos, I mentioned the 9-digit social security number. You need to enter that in there.
Okay.
Somebody has a question, something. So how do you determine payment duration for everyone? Good question. All right. So based on the amount that is given out, right? Obviously, if you're taking $500, we cannot let you pay this in, 36 months, 60 months. That's far away. So based on the amount that you're taking, that's going to determine the duration of their payment. The longest that anybody can do is going to be the 36 months, right? So 36 months is the longest. And then the shortest that anybody will also have might be just, 6 months. But apart from that, payment terms, so we are very flexible with the payment. Sometimes you, the individual, you can choose your own amount, but not every amount is going to be accepted, right? But you are flexible with you. Maybe you have some hardships and other things. You can stretch it. But based on that, that is going to determine, your duration. I want you guys to be creative here. So if you're putting something in, just be creative and say 12 months, 15 months, 18 months, whatever, right? That's it. Yes, anything else?
So speaking
Yeah.
about hardship, do we have any forbearance period for patients who probably reaches out and be like, oh, for the next month or two,
Mhm.
I'm not going to be able to make
You want to
payment.
skip? You want to skip payment? we can do that, but it's not going to be done solely by the individual. It has to be approved by the servicer, on the servicer portal, which is going to be by the client, right? So you can put in that request, but eventually it has to be approved first. Okay, guys. We've exceeded by 9 minutes or 10 minutes already. All right, we got to go. So tomorrow, we're going to start taking turns in somebody who will start, presenting. I'm going to allot some time. Tomorrow, we're going to start with, decision table. And I'm going to do that for maybe 30 minutes. And then for the rest of 30 minutes, who's going to start tomorrow? Tomorrow, I know the last one, James, you were last, and then Jeffrey was last. So tomorrow, I'm going to start with you, Jeffrey, and then if you have some more time, maybe James, you also coming, tomorrow. Tomorrow. So for the 30 minutes, that's what we will do tomorrow. I'll give you guys 15 minutes, and then do a presentation. So that Wednesday, today's Tuesday, so that tomorrow, Wednesday, we do that, and then Thursday, because I said that. You guys remember that I said, Thursday is going to be the last day for this. So Thursday, we need to finish up with this second project and then go to the last project, which is going to be on the e-commerce platform. It's going to be exciting, right? So we're gradually making progress. We're gradually making progress. We're running. at a neck-breaking speed, right?
Yeah, we are running too fast. Can you slow down just a little bit?
Fast is good. Fast is always good.
Fast is always good, but sometimes
Fast is always good when the quality, when there's a corresponding, quality as well. And I know the
exactly.
quality is also good. So we're moving at the right pace. All right, guys. I'll see you guys tomorrow. I gotta go.